Hello and welcome to this tutorial on AlbenDas tool to manage all your KNX network data. So let's just start by logging in. Okay, once we are logged, we have access to all the serial numbers that have been assigned to our user. In this case, I just have two serial numbers assigned, which are both for demo purposes. And before I go into the alerts window, I'm going to start with the process that you would use the first time to import all the data from your ETS. Okay, from the application, from the KNX application, you can export a file which is in ESF format, and in our application here, what you can do is import that file so that it will save you all the work of having to key in one by one all the address groups. Okay, so as an example, I'm going to use a file that I have already prepared here. So this is an example of an ESF file, although this one just has 3 address groups defined. Okay, so I'll just take this file and choose it from the desktop. I have it here, just data.esf, and I'll import it. Okay, once it has been imported, it will tell me that the data has been uploaded. Okay, it will take me to this screen, the group address screen, where I can further change the data that I have just imported. Sorry, one very important thing. When you're importing data, and in any screen, actually, in any screen in the application, you have to always double check that you are working on the correct serial number. Okay, in this case, I had AlbenDas Malaga selected, so all the data that I imported from this ESF will go into AlbenDas Malaga group address information. Okay, if I had wanted it to go to EP demo, I should have selected it beforehand, before doing the import. Okay, so that's very important to have in mind before doing an import. Now it takes us directly here to group addresses, and I'm going to explain a little bit this screen. The first thing to notice again is the selection of the serial number. In this case, we have only these 2 serial numbers. The first one was AlbenDas Malaga, the second one is for another demo. Okay, so I'll leave it in AlbenDas Malaga because it's the one in which we imported everything. And now this screen has two rows that need to be very clearly understood in order to manipulate all the data. So first you have a filter row. With this row we are going to make all the filters that we want to see all our data. And then we have a mass update row, which allows us to all the data that has been selected to be updated to whatever data we write here. So for example, in this case we want to see our group addresses, the ones that we imported. I'm going to go to 0/0, and in here there are all the group addresses starting by 0/0, and here are the 3 that we just imported. As you can see, the description has been brought from the file. Here you have the file, and it tries to find a correct DPT depending on whatever it finds here, although this does not work 100% all the time. Okay, and you might need to change some things when they get here. So we've imported all the data. We see here our 3 messages with our 3 group addresses and the information that it has brought in, the DPT that it has associated to each of them, the category. The category is just a way of grouping the data so the end user can filter and see the different address groups in a way that he understands. It's just a way of having the user see a more understandable way of accessing the data. That is to say, for example, from access data, these carpets here are created dynamically from all the categories that have been created for AlbenDas Malaga. This is lighting, heating and cooling, blinds, weather, etc. Okay, so coming back to the screen we were at for group addresses, So we'll filter again for 0, 0. Now we can select just these three and set them to active. This always applies to all the rows that have been selected. So if I didn't have anything selected and I tried to submit this, this would do the filter, but it wouldn't do any mass update. You need to select them. So normally, if you are able to fine-tune the filter so that it only shows the ones that you are interested in, for example here, if I go like this, it shows me just those three. I could hit select all and then I could submit them. So now what I have done is I have activated these three addresses. Now I could set them to be any other thing, any DPT that matches them or whatever, and I could set them to be lights. Okay, but let's leave them without anything set up. So coming back to the initial screen, to the alerts screen, the most important ones are which are active without a DPT. 0. That's good news. That does not mean that the DPTs that you have selected for all the active group addresses are the correct ones. You have to make sure that the ones that are active have the correct DPT. And which are active without a category. These three are exactly the three that we just created. Okay, so this is just to be sure that your data is more or less maintained. How to create categories? Okay, just from the categories tab or menu, we can access the categories, and here we can just edit any of the ones that we have created. We select the line and we edit it, save it or remove it. We can add a new one, we insert it, and here we have this new test category, and then from group addresses I could assign to this new category. Okay, I'm going to select it again and remove this category. So that's about all that needs to be done with this screen. Physical addresses, let's say that we want to see all the telegrams for that group address in the last 24 hours. Okay. It gives me a source address, but it doesn't show a source address description unless we maintain it in that list. Okay, so this is just to give the user more information on what the physical addresses are. It's not compulsory for the program to work, but it can give additional information to the user. But you at least have this place here to maintain all the physical addresses that you might want, so that you can give the user a description for all their physical addresses. And finally, we have counters. Right now, this is still a work in progress, but we have different types of counters. We have pulse counters, which for each pulse you would have an amount consumed. So if it's a light counter, it would give you how many watts for each pulse you received. And in here, what you do is you edit and you set the magnitude type. We have we select whether this address group is a counter or not. If it is a counter, you select whether it's a pulse counter or a value counter. Pulse counter, it just gives you an on or off, or an off whenever the amount, the factor is consumed. So every 10 kilowatts, for example, you would receive a pulse, so you would set this as a pulse counter with a factor of 10, and here it's watts, but it's probably better to kilowatts or whatever. And a value counter is when they send you a value of the counter, so it would give you, so for if the counter has just turned 103,000 watts, it would give you that value. Okay, and the factor wouldn't be taken into account. Okay, so here you maintain those counters. And this is about it. That's about it. There's not much more to maintain for the user to be able to use all the data correctly. Thank you for your attention. I hope that this has been useful for you.